Well, if you saw my video about Tauntauns, you know, I've got to talk about Wampas too. If you talk about one, you kind of have to talk about the other. So we have several Wampas to talk about. We'll start here with this very yellow vintage Wampa right here. So the original vintage Wampa with his triangular eyes, his kind of triangular mouth, and, you know, we all remember the old commercial. Wampa, 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 right? You know, the kid kept saying Wampa for him. He's got kind of the rubber banded arms. I don't want to push him too much in case they snap, but it made it so you could have him like pick up, hold Luke. Look at those claws in there and everything. Now, I have two Wampas. I'm not sure if this is the one I had as a kid or not. I have one in my display case, and this one was easier to grab, so I grabbed him. Now, I always thought it was funny that you could kind of raise his horns on him, and he could maybe look surprised. Although when you do it, he kind of has a cat face, doesn't he? It was nice little molding on this, lots of hair, you know, look, it was kind of a fun figure. No foot pegs. He's got hollow legs. The whole figure's actually very hollow. But it was kind of, you know, for 1980, this isn't bad. I remember getting mine as a kid. He was cool. And, you know, of course, we were all influenced by the television commercials, so we went around Wampa, 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 because that's what our Wampas did, right? But people today just don't understand that, right? So this was our only vintage Wampa. They didn't do any other versions of this, and that's all we get until the special editions came out in 1987. So in 97, we get this Wampa, and, you know, his face looks different, I guess that's what I say. I like his open mouth. He looks like mean and everything. But, you know, you back up and he kind of looks a little lame. He's made so that you could bring out his claw and you could swing him and he'll swing back, you know, like an old Superpowers figure or something. This arm has plenty of range of motion, kind of like the original, although it's a different, again, it's made so we'll do that. Look at those claws there, and it's doing some gang signs or something. And of course, this was made with the idea that you could pop his arm off. No blood or anything, but, you know, Luke's got to chop his arm off. We got to have his arm. So he just has a swivel there. The legs are all one piece, which is kind of crazy. It looks a little hunchbacked. This was supposed to come out same time as Special Edition. This was part of the Beast packs that they put out in 97 and 98. And the Power of the Force 2 line. And this one was kind of hard to get. I specifically remember getting him from KB Toys and hearing that they were at the KB Toys at Alderwood Mall and racing out there to get one. And I actually did find it. But, you know, compared to what we're going to see here in a minute, he looks pretty bad. So here's our next Wampa. He came as a deluxe figure in, I want to say it's 2003. I believe it was called the Legacy Collection at the time. It was on those blue cards that were the same as we had for Attack of the Clones. And I like him. He looks good. Now, he comes with a big old piece of meat here with a bone in it, which was cool. And I always liked this. It would fit into his hand, and you could make it look like he was chewing it, like he was pulling a piece off. You can actually work to get that piece stuck into his mouth. It is open enough for it. So I did like that. Nice face. Look at that face. So much better than that 97 one, isn't it? This is only, what, 5 years later? So, and he's got much more articulation. We can move his head. This is our first Wampa to move ahead. His legs are both articulated, although they're kind of rubbery. His arms are kind of rubbery. And his body is we're starting to see this multi-sectioned, multi-hair. We see this on Chewbacca's and Wampas now for a while. But it has a nice effect to it. And you can cut off his arm too. So, and he's got blood on his arm. Look at that. Now it's interesting. The last one, the peg was in the arm. This one, the peg is in the shoulder. Look at that detail. Oh, yeah. And it came with a little piece of a Wampa cave. I'll show you that in a minute. In fact, I can put it as the inset right here. I set this up. There was also a Deluxe Luke Skywalker that came with a piece of the Wampa cave, and you can set it up just like this with Luke hanging upside down, the lightsaber down below. Now I've added in my own extra pieces for the Wampa cave, but it is pretty cool to be able to put all that together, so it was pretty nice. So I've always liked this Wampa. Like I said, I like his big old hunk of meat, probably Tauntaun meat, right? And then he could be eating it. He's got some blood hanging down, so very clearly Special Edition Wampa. Can't move his horns, really. A little rubbery, but I liked him. And it seemed like this would be our go-to Wampa. We wouldn't see another one for quite a while. In fact, it wasn't until 2017 that we got this Wampa. He came out at the same time as the Last Jedi type stuff was coming out. In fact, he is Force Link. He made sounds and everything, which I think I covered, oh gosh, what was that, 7 years ago in a video, if you want to go back and find that. But he's a nice Wampa for Force Link. Time of Force Link, you know, they were mostly 5 POA type figures, but this this Wampa was really well done. You know, he's got knee articulation. He's our first Wampa with knee articulation in 3 3/4. He's got hip articulation here. He's got ankle articulation. That's like full leg articulation for a Wampa. He's got elbow articulation. This is like a full TVC figure here. You know, nice range of movement. The head moves around. And, of course, you can pop the arm off. Notice, again, it's attached to the arm and not to the shoulder this time. A little bit of blood in there and all that. Every time they do that effect, of course, it limits like the motion. So like this one, this arm we can move all around, and this one's just a straight swivel joint. He looks really good, though. I like this Wampa. You know, it's kind of a solid back, and yet the front, oh no, the front doesn't have that layered effect like we had in the other one. But it's a really nice looking Wampa, and for a line that had some issues, we got like this one and the probe droid and stuff like that. We're actually really good within it. Even though the people didn't want the 5 points of articulation, there was still a lot of good stuff to be had in there if you looked. And this Wampa, here we gotta look at his claws. They kind of remind me of the vintage claws. Look at that. Kind of that bigger black pad in there, or gray pad, if you will. Kind of reminds me of that a little bit. Yeah, a little bit of that vintage pad. And that would be it for basic 3 3/4 inch Wampas. There's just been 4 Wampas over the years. But of course, there's one more Wampa. And that's the Black Series Wampa, of course. And he came out, what was this, 2014, if I remember correctly. He came in a 2-pack with a Hoth Luke Skywalker. Same time as we got a Hoth Han Solo with Tauntaun. And he is fully articulated, like you'd expect a Black Series figure to be. We've got shoulders, elbows, wrists, full legs. We've got the what do they call this? The thigh swivel. There we go. Knees, ankles, and you can see kind of the layered effect of the hair. Head moves around really well. Check out his back there. It's a nice looking Wampa. Now they re-released this, oh gosh, 2000. Oh, it was the 40th anniversary. It's 2020. They re-released this in a vintage style box, and I think it was either a PulseCon or a Comic-Con exclusive. I forget which. 2020 was a weird year, so who knows what it was supposed to be for. But and he does have an arm that pops up, of course, which limits the articulation, but we actually get some detail in the flesh of that arm and everything. Kind of cool there. But, you know, it was good to get this Black Series Wampa. It's funny that we got this so long ago, and we rarely see beasts anymore in the Black Series. It's mostly about figures. Now, I know this set and the Tauntaun set and all the different vehicles never sold all that well, and people just waited for them on clearance, which caused Hasbro to go, you know, we're not going to lose money on this stuff, so they stopped making it, unfortunately, because they did some really cool stuff, and this Wampa is one of them. I do like this Black Series Wampa. I don't see much of a reason to upgrade it, if you will, if they were to re-release it. I think it'd be just fine as it is. I've never opened the boxed one that came in the vintage style box, because I already had this. I didn't feel I needed to. So I don't think there's any differences. And of course, you know, if we're going to look at Wampas, there's Galactic Heroes Wampas. There's the Collector's Series 12-inch Wampa, which is really fun. That one is all hair, actually, and got a wire frame inside of it, so you can bend him around. He's kind of fun, but he looks like somebody pissed down the front of him too. But I wanted to just cover the 3 3/4 inch and 6-inch scale Wampas for this review. People don't seem to be too interested in that 12-inch stuff, even though I have it all. It's not something I want to cover at this time. So there's our look at our back at our Wampas. You know, which one was your favorite? I said I think this one's probably my favorite, although I could see people loving this one. Or are you just a little bit more of your vintage and you just want your old cat face Wampa and go Wampa, 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 Wampa? Bonus Wampa, or it's not actually a Wampa. I found this a number of years ago at Value Village, but it looks like a Wampa. Look at those horns. Look at that face. Look at the claws. It's not. It's like an adventure people or something. I don't even know. Somebody tried to tell me what it was. It used to make noise. I don't think it does anymore. He'll open his mouth, though. But I've always kept him with some of my Star Wars stuff because I found him. I was like, God, it looks like a lot like a Wampa. But he's not. So there you go. Not a Wampa.